sinful beliefs that we can carry with us are our ideas about love. We have a culture where love is really thrown around a lot and has been for a long time. But we enter into problems about ideas of love when they are rooted in desire or affection, and they're not really rooted in righteousness and what it means to really do what is good and right by God and man. And I see in the church that this is a pretty big problem, because a lot of times when we're reading scripture and we're talking about love, we end up looking at love through kind of this pathetic view of love, a cute idea of love, of, oh, I should go out and I should be more loving, be more kind, instead of the depth of what love is supposed to be really getting at, which is all of the sin, all of the corruption inside of us that sins against our neighbor, that sins against God. And love is about correcting these things. There's this idea, this belief system that love is kind of like a placeholder for the righteous expectation of God, and as long as we act a little loving, a little kind, we're okay, we're doing good. When love is not about removing the righteous expectation of God, it's about actually getting at what the real righteousness of God is after. And the law of Christ is about the real righteous expectation. It's not about removing the righteous expectation, but about bringing it in. To really love people requires that we get at the spirit in us, that we get at the heart of sin inside of us. It's kind of like, and this is, a bit of a harsh example, but it's kind of like our attitude in love is like, I'm going to go around and pet people on the head, and I'm going to act really nice towards people, and I'm going to, be super sweet towards them. But you never get at that place in your heart where you treat others like they're a dog and you're a human. That's what love is. Love is not petting someone nicely on the head, but maintaining this wicked heart of treating people like a dog in your heart, in your belief system. But it's correcting that and seeing how wicked that is. And love is supposed to be getting at every part inside of us that is godless, every part inside of us that is wickedness towards our neighbor, and undoing those things and walking in the righteousness of those things. The problem today is that so many people continue to walk in the fleshly ideas of love rather than really coming in to a real righteous understanding of love, and they are pleased with their efforts, and they fail to see what scripture is teaching. That scripture is saying that our efforts of good out of the flesh are worthless because they're never getting at what is actually good and right. This is why we're so sinful and so corrupt. And yet, though the Bible teaches this, these people can walk around and act, loving and kind without ever really getting at the stronghold of the heart, the stronghold of the mind. And they will go around in these efforts, and they expect others to be satisfied with them. They expect to be praised as, some good, loving person. And they're hurt when people tell them that their love isn't good enough, and they're not willing to really face the reality of themselves, that their love is selfish, that their love is rooted in a self-serving, and it's not really getting at righteousness. And the wickedness in us is that we are satisfied with this pathetic morality. We're satisfied with a love that doesn't actually get at the heart of what's really needed in order to love others. We're satisfied with these things, and we like the high and the notion of feeling like we're loving, feeling like we're kind. And when we read scripture, that's what we're communicating to ourselves. We're communicating to ourselves to act a little loving, and we love our little kumbaya ceremony and our ideas of community, but we're never really taking righteousness seriously and really willing to go to bat and study and seek love for what it really is, and get at the heart and the stronghold of all sin in us. And that's what love in scripture is talking about. Because the test for us is, does our love do harm to our neighbor? I mean, this is really the test. What we see in Romans 13 is love does no harm. It does no harm to our neighbor, and this is what is supposed to be correcting. So we have a lot of love in our generation, in the generation of our church, where we really swell up with ideas about love, but we're never getting at the harm that we're doing to others. We're never getting at the meanness and the hatred and the selfishness in us. And so many fail to see that you can love others and have an affection or attachment to others, a sort of appreciation for others, and yet never really love those people. One of the things that I can see from my past in dating people is how I have been with these people, and I've had this attachment and this affection, but it's really coming to see that I never truly loved those people. Because I was never truly looking at their good. I was never really looking after what is to their good and what is to their benefit. It was all supported around what was serving myself. And this is what love so often is in the minds of people, is it's a way to serve yourself. So you love your wife, but what do you love your wife for is to serve yourself. It's not loving her for her good. It's loving her for yourself. And that's the danger, is we can continue in that self-serving and believe that we're, just being genuine people, being, loving and kind, when what we're doing all of that out of is to serve ourselves rather than have that real equality and that real genuine concern for all people's good. So does our love really get at those beliefs, really get at that self-serving, or is it just participating in it? Is it just perpetuating that? Because so many people profess to be loving others when their entire effort is after serving themselves. It's after their ambition. It's after wanting to feel like they're a good person. It's all self-serving. It's all that self-seeking. So many are trying to justify this imbalance, this unfairness, when the love your neighbor as yourself is expressed in that equality, because what we do as sinners, what we do inside of our hearts, is that we try to grant something to ourselves that we will not give to others, or we try and say that we have a permission to do something wrong that other people don't have. And this is why the true test of love is whether we honestly love others as ourselves. And the heart of sin is that we will feed ourselves while refusing our responsibility to care about whether others have food. When we're content, we're just selfishly content. And if we have food and we don't care about whether others have food, we don't care about their pain, we don't care about the harm being done to them. And this is why loving our neighbor as ourselves is the real test stone of our righteousness, of if we are really doing what is good and right, because we can profess and profess and profess to be doing something that is good and right, but if we're never getting at that heart, if we're never really getting at doing good to our neighbor and having that equality with our neighbor, then we're not doing what is right. And we, no matter what we say, no matter how nice we act, we're never actually getting at what is justice and righteousness.